Most people wait until it's too late to realize what actually mattered. I'm 78 years old, and I spent 40 years chasing things that don't exist anymore, while ignoring what was right in front of me. Everything they told you about success, the promotions, the recognition, the perfect trajectory, it's a trap designed to keep you running. And the worst part? You won't notice until you look back and realize you traded the irreplaceable for the forgettable. But before I tell you what I finally understood, you need to hear where I was when it hit me. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here because I see younger people making the exact mistakes I made, and I know how it ends. Time feels infinite when you're 30, 40, even 50. It's not. The years vanish faster than you think, and certain doors close quietly without warning. I wish someone had grabbed me by the shoulders and told me this when I still had time to choose differently. So that's what I'm doing now. If this resonates with you, leave a comment, tell me what you're realizing. Because the conversation matters more than you think. My life looked perfect from the outside. I had the career, the house, the respect. I worked 60-hour weeks for 2 decades. I traveled for business. I answered emails at dinner. I told myself I was building something meaningful, that the sacrifice was temporary, that I'd slow down once I reached some imaginary milestone that kept moving further away. My wife stopped asking me to come to bed at a reasonable hour. My kids stopped inviting me to their games. And I told myself it was fine because I was providing, because I was responsible, because that's what men do. But I wasn't present. I was a ghost in my own house. I remember standing in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning, looking at the coffee maker, and realizing I couldn't remember the last conversation I'd had with my son that wasn't about logistics. I wasn't living. I was going through the motions. It was a Sunday afternoon in October. I was 61. I was sitting in my home office, catching up on work, when my daughter knocked on the door. She was visiting from across the country. She asked if I wanted to take a walk before she drove back to the airport. I almost said no. I had emails to send. But something made me look up, and I saw this expression on her face. Not anger, not sadness, just resignation. Like she'd already accepted that I'd say no. So I closed the laptop. We walked around the neighborhood for 40 minutes. She told me about her life, her worries, her plans, and I realized I didn't know her anymore. Not really. She'd become a stranger, and it was my fault. When she hugged me goodbye at her car, she said, "Thanks for the walk. Dad, that was nice." It wasn't a profound statement, but the way she said it, surprised, almost grateful, it broke something inside me. I stood in the driveway long after she left, and I thought, what have I done? The biggest lie you believe is this: I have time. You think there's always another weekend, another holiday, another chance to show up. You think relationships can survive neglect as long as you eventually get around to them. You think your health will hold. You think your parents will always be there to call. You think you can delay the meaningful conversations, the deep connections, the moments that matter, because right now you're busy building something important. But here's the truth. You're not promised tomorrow. The people you love aren't guaranteed to wait. And one day you'll wake up and realize that the important thing you were building doesn't feel important anymore. And the people you neglected are gone or distant or tired of trying. Do you really believe you have time? Because I did. And I was wrong. I met a man at a funeral 3 years ago. He was 65. His best friend from college had died suddenly, heart attack, no warning. We were standing outside the church, and he told me they'd been planning a fishing trip for 15 years. Every time one of them suggested a date, the other was too busy. Work, family obligations, bad timing. They kept saying, next year. We'll make it happen next year. And then his friend was gone, and the trip would never happen. He looked at me and said, 15 years of next year. And now there's no time left. He wasn't crying. He was just empty. I think about him often. I think about all the next years I wasted. And I wonder, what are you postponing? What are you telling yourself you'll get to eventually? I regret the school plays I missed. I regret telling my wife I'd be home by 7 and walking in at 10 without calling. I regret the way I used to check my phone during conversations. Like whatever was on that screen mattered more than the person in front of me. I regret never learning to cook with my mother before she got too sick to stand at the stove. I regret spending Sundays working instead of resting, because I thought rest was for people who weren't serious. I regret the friendships I let fade because I was too busy, too tired, too distracted to pick up the phone. I regret the nights I stayed late at the office to impress people who don't remember my name now. I regret not asking my father about his life before he forgot most of it. I regret choosing comfort over honesty in 100 small moments that added up to a life half lived. I regret believing that success meant more than presence. I don't regret the work itself. I regret thinking the work was more important than everything else. So what actually changes things? Not grand gestures, not quitting your job to find yourself. Just small, consistent choices that most people ignore because they seem too simple. You start showing up. You put your phone in another room during dinner. You call your parents once a week, not because you need something, but because you want to hear their voice. You say yes to the walk, the coffee, the conversation, even when you're tired. You stop treating relationships like they'll always be there and start treating them like they're fragile, because they are. You ask the hard questions instead of avoiding them. You apologize when you're wrong, quickly and without defense. You notice when someone needs you, and you show up without being asked. You stop waiting for the right time and you act now, today, this week. You accept that balance isn't about doing everything. It's about doing what matters and letting the rest go. None of this is complicated, but it requires you to stop lying to yourself about what's important. You're running out of time. Not in some distant, abstract way, right now, today. Every morning you wake up, you have less time than you did yesterday. The people you love are aging. Your body is changing. Opportunities are closing. And you can keep telling yourself you'll deal with it later, or you can start now. It's not too late, but it will be. Leave a comment and tell me, what's one thing you know you need to change? What are you postponing? Because naming it is the first step. And maybe, just maybe, we can stop making the same mistakes together. The question isn't whether you have time. The question is, what are you going to do with what's left?